Are you ready to get provoked? You're listening to Can I Live, a show created to excite, ignite, and expose. Let's tune in with your host, R.W. Jones. Great, perfect. So we are both places. Yay, was able to do that. Hey everyone, my name is R.W. Jones, the president and CEO of Can I Live Incorporated. And we are very, very excited about our new series called The HUD Housewives of America. And so this particular series, we're just really highlighting why this is an issue. Why is this series an issue? We have some moms joining us later on the call just to kind of make sure that throughout this series, we cover a certain amount of things. And so as you guys know, if you guys have been following, we had a previous podcast that aired at 7 a.m. And it was really hard to get people on the show because they're like, that is early. And so what we decided to do was go to a 7 p.m. on Tuesday. And we decided to do a whole new series called the HUD Housewives of America. Now, if you listen to any of the preludes, the whole entire definition, HUD Housewife of America, is probably like an oxymoron. Number one, we know that in public housing, and when we talk about HUD housewives, we're talking about both public housing and we're talking about both Section 8 housing. And so what we know is that predominantly in public housing, it is majority single family head of household. And there's about, 52% African American. So although African Americans make up only 12% of the United States population, they make up more than half of the HUD population, the Section 8 and the public housing population. So here in the HUD Housewives of America, in this series coming up, we're just really pretty much going to be giving you the backdrops of what happens in these lives. Most times I have a couple of series and a couple of little snippets that we're going to watch today. But when you're talking Black Lives Matter, when you're talking racial gap, when you're talking, how the rich got rich, the poor got poor, when you're talking segregation, fair housing, all of that started someplace. And it's not like it's a big, difficult thing to undo. In this series, we're actually going to talk about how it was actually constructed. So I have a couple of snippets that I really want to show you and let you hear about how America became segregated in terms of its housing, the institutions that were behind it, how the wealth gap got that way, and then moving towards the end, how do we get out of this? HUD Wives of America is basically saying, yeah, while they're single, they're really not. They actually have a provider in the house, and his name is Uncle Sam. And in that provider being Uncle Sam, there's a couple of things. A, what are you actually exchanging what are you giving up in exchange for that subsidy? And so while on one hand, it sounds like it's affordable housing, like that's a good thing, most would say yes. But on the other hand, maybe it's really not that good of a thing. And maybe you're giving up way more than what you thought, simply because of the way that the institutions are kind of constructed. So let's not even sugarcoat it. On some front, let's talk about, number one, when you see people saying Black Lives Matter, I don't know if it's just because they were able to put a sign out there, and now that they have the sign in front of them, they're telling you they're not racist. They're telling you that they're not, racist. I guess that's the only operative word to put. I'm not racist. Black Lives Matter. I don't know if we're okay with that. And something tells me, and something makes me feel like, let me donate to the Black Lives Matter. Let me just put my banner up. Let me just, do these things. And I feel like I can check the box and go on with continuing the way I've been living my life. And I think that that's an issue. That's a problem. And so, our hopes is with this series is to be able to, identify, how did this start? Look at real lives, because one of the things I don't think we do is look at the real lives of the women behind the subsidy. I don't think you're looking at them as outside of, oh, they're a subsidized family receiving some kind of welfare assistance, and then that's it. And then that, I don't know if you're really looking at, no, they got dreams, they got businesses, they got visions, they work every day, and they're really trying their best to move themselves out. But for whatever reason, these same constructs that created this system, it's the same things that's keeping them from moving forward. And it's like, I'm over it already. I don't know about you, but I'm over it. And so I want to kind of, I'm going to share my screen. Let me see, share my screen really quickly. And I just want to listen to this snippet. This is from NPR. They did a interview with the guy who wrote this book called Color of Law. Let's see. What is this, new share? I'm going to do this one. With this guy who wrote Color of Law. And let's see, where is the video? Here it is. I guess you guys can see. I'm going to go all the way up to, I want y'all guys to listen to this really quickly. I'm going to get it right at 4 minutes and 30 seconds. And I'm going to push play.
It was the second Roosevelt administration New Deal era program that created or enforced housing segregation.
The second major one was the Federal Housing Administration, which was established in 1934, the year after the Public Works Administration. And the Federal Housing Administration is well known today by many people as an agency that would not insure mortgages for African Americans in red line communities. That was a minor part of what the federal government, what the FHA did in order to segregate metropolitan areas. The most important role of the Federal Housing Administration was it subsidized mass production builders of entire subdivisions, entire suburbs. And it did so with a requirement that no homes be sold to African Americans, and that every home in these subdivisions had a clause in the deed that prohibited resale to African Americans. So these two programs combined worked to segregate metropolitan areas in a way that they otherwise would not have been segregated. The public housing program separated African Americans from integrated neighborhoods. The Federal Housing Administration then subsidized white families to move out of urban areas into suburbs, all white suburbs, where African Americans were prohibited from following.
And in what sense were African Americans prohibited from following whites into the suburbs?
They were prohibited because the developers of these suburbs got bank loans on condition that they sell no homes to African Americans. It was a federal requirement that they get these bank loans only on condition that they not sell to African Americans. And the Federal Housing Administration required that deeds in these homes have what we now refer to as restraints, prohibitions on resale to African implicit program. It was the involvement of the Federal Housing Administration in the development of these suburbs was very open, explicit, and well known. There was nothing secret about it.
So really, really right there is in the Color of Law, what he basically was telling us is HUD, which is HUD known today, but back then it was FHA. They were the actual entity, the government entity that made it okay to redline. They did a color of a map and they put wherever there were high concentrations of African Americans, they basically said that, we're not going to put loans and stuff there. Like and told the banks that it was okay. So the FHA, which is also known as HUD today, gave private companies the tools that they needed to use to do exactly what we see today. So when you see DC, New York, Connecticut, Philly, Texas, and you see public housing and you see predominantly minority individuals in public housing, that was constructed by HUD from back then. Now, the interesting part of it all, during World War II, during the Great Depression, there was nobody building houses back then. And so when the what's the people called? The soldiers came home, they were ready to, like, celebrate and live. And there was a lot of deplorable living conditions. And so the government knew immediately they had to do something. And so they enacted, I think it was 1934, this Federal Housing Administration. However, over 1 million Black soldiers came home from the war and could not access a mortgage. They got paid, they had funds to purchase, they could afford, but they could not access. And so during the FHA period, they actually, if you listen to what he said they subsidized urban America. So here you have this public housing, which was middle-class whites. Public housing used to be middle-class whites, and guess what? It never was subsidized. It never was subsidized. They was paying their own rent, market rate rent, whatever that was, $100 back then. They were paying market rate rent. And it wasn't until all of this monies, the FHA started to give this monies to build the suburbs in Long Island, like Levittown and stuff. They needed the people to kind of migrate that way. And so they paid white people that lived in public housing, the middle class white people, the working class white people that lived in public housing. They paid them to go and move to the suburbs. And what was happening is they actually had segregated communities. So they would have a white public housing, non-subsidized, and then they would have a Black public housing, very poor community. And so what was happening is the Black public housing had long waiting lists, like the Section 8 list, long waiting lists. But on the white side, if they were vacant, but they were vacant specifically because the government was giving them monies to move. And so it became really, it was like, okay, really, y'all gonna do this? Y'all gonna have people on a waiting list but have housing available here? So then they started allowing the Black people to move over in the white public housing areas. And then they started to subsidize it. And then it became a concentration camp for poor families. Now, interestingly enough, you got to know, if housing was denied access to, if Blacks were denied housing, they were also denied other economic opportunities such as jobs, fair wages, all kind of other things that make people, grow and build wealth. So while the subsidies on the left hand was given to white America that enhanced their wealth and their prosperity, the subsidies on the right hand was given to African Americans that aided in their poverty. And I'm looking for the law, and I know it's there. I'm going to find it before the series is over, that there was even a time where, like, the breakup of the Black family, like when the men could not even populate the public housing units with the women if they weren't married. I haven't been able to find it. I know it's out there because I've seen it. I've seen movies and documentaries of it, but for whatever reason, I can't locate it, but I will. Because now that you have this segregated population in here, it's like, how did public housing become mostly Black females? Like, when did that happen? And then with Black females, you got depression, you got crime out of the wazoo. Our neighborhoods are like the worst to live in, rodent infested. Then they have the audacity to not even want to put no money in it anymore. And why is this important? Really, today, as public housing goes through its new, I want to call it as a new silent deal. I call it the silent deal. Yes, Roosevelt instituted the New Deal, and during the New Deal, that's when they did all this public housing infrastructure. Now it's a silent deal. It's called RAD, Rental Assistance Demonstration. And private developers are coming in, being able to now own a piece of federal property. Before, federal property couldn't take debt out on their property because it was against the law for the federal government to have debt. Now they can. And they're taking the equity, they're using the equity in this huge, what do they call, real estate portfolio. They take that equity out and they call these investors in, add money to it, and they rebuild the housing. But the issue is, we as African-American women, predominantly, even men, we have not been able to access the wealth or the economic opportunities that are locked within these hidden cities. And so, that's what the series of the HUD Housewives of America is. It really is to go behind the door, looking at the families themselves. And I don't know how many women are willing to just show their face say, hi, my name is, yeah. Y'all can use fake names if you want, because there is a stigma. How dare they? How dare, there is a stigma to public housing. Like, some people are ashamed. Some people don't want people to know that they live in Section 8 or they have public housing, which I think is deplorable, because it's like, really? But our hope is to remove the shame, because it's not our shame. It should be their shame. And when I say their shame, the white folks that constructed all this nonsense, and even the black folks that handy dandy manage this crap all day, every day, that you should be ashamed. Now, I understand it's a job and you got to do what you got to do to feed your family, but it's like, find something else to do or change the system in itself. If you're going to be a part of it, change it to where it doesn't reflect what it is today. Because today we have more segregated communities than we ever have. And families are not taking the Section 8 voucher. And so what used to be the golden ticket for a lot of families is no longer the case. So we wanted just to kind of open up the lines, just to kind of give you a feel as to what this series is going to be, so that you guys can let us know here at the Can I Live podcast show, what do we really need to cover, and what do we need to make sure we don't miss when we're talking HUD Housewives of America. Should we be talking, husbands too? I don't know how many, I think we get kind of weird when we start talking about the men in public housing, which there are men in public housing, but not to the degree that there are women. So I'm going to, let's see, Tommy, I see you. If you guys want to unmute, I've unmuted you. I've allowed you guys to talk. So if you guys feel like you need to ask a question or make sure we don't miss something, let's definitely talk about that. Hey, Tommy, how you doing?
Hi, Rocky. I'm just joining in. I think this is a great idea, and I don't have a husband. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, if I had a husband, I would love to bring him in on it, because they are definitely affected. I'm sure Black men who live in public housing have a huge opinion, big feelings about living there. In my opinion, I was kind of brought up to believe that, no, forget that. Let me talk about 2020 right now. There's no way I would have a man move in with me or live with me or be married into public housing because of the shame.
Interesting.
A very good, successful, white-collar federal worker friend of mine over 20 years told me this: you are never going to have a man as long as you live there. And that sat with me for some years, and I didn't want to take that on, but it's like, damn, it's kind of like right, because I ain't got a man yet. But Tommy, do you tell people where you live? Oh, really? No, I don't. Well, then maybe that might be part of it too. So how do I love going to have dinner downtown at City Center in Northwest at Del Frisco's, and a guy comes up to me, and strike up a conversation, and well, where do you live? He says, well, I live off of the Whitehurst Freeway. And I say, well, he says, where do you live? On Potomac Gardens. That doesn't go together. Wow. So yeah, I'm ashamed of where I live. I am.
Maybe that's the question we should ask. Are you ashamed of where you live? And maybe that's like series number 1. Are you ashamed of where you live? And I never ever thought that deep into this series, Tommy. Like, seriously, I never did. That is, well,
that's why I'm here.
Because when I said HUD Housewives, I was really talking like Uncle Sam was our husband. Not, Uncle Sam was the husband. because he was really the one providing. But I know you bust your behind out there every day. And just because I guess a housewife is someone that doesn't work. So I guess we've kind of just playing. I mean, we really are playing off of the Real Housewives of whatever.
Yeah.
But it's the HUD housewives with the notion that, you know, Uncle Sam is the husband. But you're saying that now I will say this. Maybe if you did meet one of those bougie brothers, you know, on the Northwest side, if he looked down on you because of where you live, then he ain't worth a damn in the first place. But why are African American, I think African American women are single across the board, disproportionately, of course, against white women, Asian women, Indian women anyway, because of all of the other dynamics that plays into, you know, with the men. Like, you know, because I'm pretty sure, Tommy, you could find a man that's willing to lay up and live up in your nice little house. He might not be the one you want though.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, you got those crazy cross-eyed fools out there.
Yeah, but it's a lot. It's a lot of other stuff that goes with having, you know, somebody here with you. It to me, to have a man get married and have a man live here, it just adds to my frustration of things.
Really?
I want to get out of here so bad, you know, but my wallet says, you got to stay right here. You
Isn't
know,
that something? And you work every day and you have a good job.
every day, still behind the eight ball, man. I mean, it's a lot of other stuff I could say, but you know, it might get me in trouble. But it's a lot of stuff that goes into it. Like freedom. There's no freedom here. You know, living behind these gates, which some people consider it like looking like an estate, like the Beverly Hills mansion. You know, the family commissioner. Oh, the gates are nice. It makes you look at you living in a gated community. Gated jail is what it looks like.
Yeah.
You know, the security here, how they oppress us. Just last week, we were having an event for the children, 10 people. Following COVID, 10 people. Security came and said, I'm shutting this down. And we say, why? And he says, because it was a similar event down the street. That's it? That's it? You punk. You punk. But when the little boys riding by on these mopeds that's, according to the lease, gasoline-operated vehicles are not supposed to be on the property, you say nothing to them, but you want to harass the women and the children. That too. Stuff just compounds every day, and it makes me say this: can I live? Not here. I'm done.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, Tommy. We'll go to the next one, but what
Okay.
you said has really, it's just kind of like you put like a block of cement in my lap and I can't get up. I don't even know what to do with that. And so I gotta meditate on that, chop that up later throughout the week. But I think the first episode could be, you know, are you ashamed of where you live? Will you bring a man to your house that you met? Are you ashamed? Real talk. Like, I mean, and I like that. And that's why I wanted to do this intro call to the series, because there's no way I'm gonna know all of these little things like that. India, did you what? I mean, she just dropped the whole bomb. I mean, is there something else that we should be covering in this series? Thank you, Tommy, for that. That was really deep.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, well, the one thing that I think we touched on before, that you have to kind of start at the beginning in regards to the kind of people, or you have to, you cannot ignore mental health. You cannot. You have to throw it in there somewhere, slide it in there, touch it, something. You can't ignore the fact that there's a percentage of these people that suffer from mental health. And that's speaking personally, and a lot of people get up and go to work all day, but we are always behind the 8 ball because that's where we starting from.
True.
It's like we're playing a catch-up game. We're in a human race, RACE, for a reason, and we just running out. I just feel like sometimes we spinning our wheels instead of being in the race. Actually, considering we got to start from behind the line.
I know you sent me that link. I want to show it towards the end of the podcast.
It's actually very
let me ask you a question. Do you think that the mental health is created, like what Tommy said, it just keeps going, keeps like every day is something new? Does the living conditions, the rules, the policies, the fact that we are always starting behind the 8 ball, the fact that we're like a hamster on a wheel and never can get off and never see the light at the end of this tunnel in this place called subsidized housing or government assistance of some kind, do you think, how much of that do you think impacts mental health?
Those are the very first stages of the downward spiral of mental health. You just set up the perfect storm for mental insanity for anybody.
For anybody.
For anybody, yeah, a sane person. And you set the conditions up where we start behind the 8 ball. Any white man with his right mind, with a pocket full of money, if he had to start behind the 8 ball, would not succeed. So it's almost like,
why even do it? Why start? Why do anything? Why not give up? Why not just die?
There's a lot of us, generation after generation after generation, that has that mindset. I was in public housing with 3 generations in one house that has that same mindset. Why bother? Why bother? When your man, Uncle Sam, got you. Why bother? Why bother? You already behind the 8 ball. It's already set up and designed for you to bust your face. Why bother?
Why bother? That's like shit.
And that's and now put that on a plate of somebody that got a little bit of learning disability, or a little bit of lack common sense, or a little bit of ain't never had, or a little bit never had a mother and father. Throw that on their plate.
Or somebody molested, or somebody.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because like I said, the average white man that's educated with money in his pocket, if he starts where we start, still won't make it. We'll put it on our plates, and that's how it's just double. Everything is just 5 times exacerbated when it comes to us as Blacks, especially Black women.
So let me ask you this. What I didn't want, like I watched the Real Housewives, excuse me, of like Beverly Hills and Atlanta, and they got these real lavish house, and I was like, well, shit, on this side of town, it is nothing lavish. But I don't know how many of us are willing to be transparent, to unveil their living conditions as a means that, because I know one thing, you can have a clean house and still have rats and roaches, because it's not just
we all have it. We all have it because it wasn't designed. You always in a catch-22. So unless you're ready to come up off the system, ain't too much you're gonna be revealing. You understand what I'm saying? Unless you're ready to take that step out there in faith, or you got an exit plan, ain't too much you're gonna be revealing. Because see, you can't have a case and start running your mouth about what you got to do to survive, because it's contrary to the case. Meanwhile, your case, your whatever, your poo case, your food case, your food stamps, your tanning, these is rules and regulations.
People start messing with you like that. I mean, not if we join together and stick together. I think if we join together, I think we have enough data to support a million moms, against HUD type, ordeal, especially when you created these segregated communities. Like,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the thing. These was created. You said you went all the way back to 1934, 1935. This was the data that they knew it would produce. It is doing exactly what it was supposed to do. It was designed to do exactly what it was supposed to do. So
Are we that sick? Let me ask you this, because this is where I have a problem, and this is where I would like to have some solution. Are we that sick where when a solution kind of presents itself, we don't even bother even getting in the ranks to be counted?
absolutely, because we numb. By the time you're 30 and 40. But remember, now you're coming from the mindset of, say, if I'm the third generation in my public housing home, I got my mother and my grandmother in here, and it's a long line of foolishness. So by the time I'm 30, 40, what else do I see? What else do I know? What else am I being taught? You have to be an astronomical, out of the ordinary African American to get yourself out of that situation.
Say that again. You have to be a what?
An astronomical African American. Above normal. There has to be something special about you. You have to want it to your core. You understand? But if you don't know no different, what is there to want? You have to know that there's different. First of all.
Well, I know one thing. I've never been one to just stay salt in a situation. Like, I just ain't never been one to just accept, like, F it. This is it. These are the odds.
Because you saw different. You gotta come to the mind frame of people that this. I met somebody that lived in Raleigh, North Carolina all his life and told me he has never been to Durham. So you gotta understand, it just like the prison, what she said, the prison mentality. Once you win, you win. Some people don't come out physically, mentally. Some people don't have to literally leave their compounds to be satisfied. Their needs to be met, because Uncle Sam is going to meet those needs.
You're so crazy. You like, I mean, like, okay.
I was in a housing complex before that had the deli on the corner inside the compound. This man had everything you needed. It was no need for you to leave.
And it wasn't one of us.
No.
Ooh.
So, just the mere fact that I could talk to a grown man that's never been a county over ever in his life. These are the generations I'm talking about. The fact that I knew the mere fact that I known a grown man that has never been to the county over. These things are built like prisons for a reason. They look like prisons for a reason.
True. I mean, just the fact that, so we got shame, we got mental health. I appreciate that, India. And thank you for sharing. I mean, that's a real thing that we will have to discuss. And I don't know how many people will be willing to share the mental health and how that impacts and how their living environment or going down to social services, how that impacts your mental health, having to recertify every 6 months and have these invasive questions asked. So Ashley, thank you, India, for that. What is it that you think we should cover?
Well, I think
good ones: shame, mental health.
I think a little bit of everything should be covered because I feel like it's more than one component that's going on. Like so far since I've been listening, and I've been a little bit in and out of the conversation. I do apologize, but one thing that really got me was Ms. Washington when she said you have to be an astronomical African American. Excuse my language. All I could think about is my current situation. So like you have to be a hell of a finesser, because it's like when you get into housing. I'm only speaking on a personal note because it's now that I'm in it that I'm starting to want to research the laws, the rules, the the ins and outs and the do's and don'ts. And it's not until, like you said, like it's a mentality. It's like your
The
hierarchy.
new hustle,
For
the new
me.
hustle, the new job.
So it's like my mind is like, you know what, I have to be a hell of a finesse. It's time for me to hustle, because my hierarchy, when I first came in, I didn't care about the rules. I didn't care about the things that were set up, what was happening. My main mentality was I just needed to get up off the streets. Like, you know, when you first go in and apply, you do the application. They later call you in for this interview with all these questions. And all I know is I'm gonna say and do whatever, because right now my main need is that my background my story may be a little bit different from others, but my thing was I needed food, I needed housing, I needed some place at least to get things started. The main thing was to secure a space over me and the girls' heads, and then kind of go from there. So I didn't care about anything else. But now that I'm in it, it's like, you want to know what? Okay, well, they gave me food stamps, they gave me housing, they gave me Medicaid. Now, with 3 kids, I probably got about $270 a month, and then in food stamps, I got $300 a month. And they were taking a great majority of that money. So that left me with, you know what, I still need to figure out how I'm going to get back and forth to work once I find a job, food, because that for a family of from 3 kids, including myself, 4 of us, and then now an additional child, that's 5 people. You know, food is expensive. So, yeah. But then they don't want you to, once you make, so that's the baseline. They already have a ceiling that's set in place. Like, this is how high you can go. Anything else but taking that, you can only be here for a certain amount of time. So I'm like, okay, well, if you're going to take half of everything, give me a certain amount of time to be here. You're only going to give me about 3 years to be here, and this is the amount of money you're giving me, and I can't make anything else, or else you want to take that too. Where is the room for me to actually be able to grow and stretch and expand my wings?
It's not.
So I'm already inside of a cage.
Box.
So now, even if you wanted to say, hey, like, you wanna know what? I'm here now. This basic need has been met. So now I can focus on getting more money. I can fixate on just growth, period. But that can't happen, because anything else that you do, we're going to take that. So I felt like I'm boxed in. So anything else that I do now, it's always off the records. It's always
illegal. That's
I didn't know how much to say.
Right. Yeah. If they keep you boxed in. Yeah, it's a catch-22. The minute you step in the door, the cage is locked behind you. It's a catch-22.
So now you're looking at, you know what? So what kind of risk? It puts you into another pool that you necessarily really don't want to be in. But it's like, you know what? I cannot support myself off of. I'm trying to find the words to look for, because I am appreciative. I am humble in the fact, like, you know, that this was provided. But it's still like the phrase of me saying, hey, I'm going to give you a ride to work. It's raining outside. It's thundering. I can give you a ride to work. Okay, I have to be there at 9:00, but my ride doesn't show up till 10. I still get that ride, but I'm still late, so it's not helpful. That's housing. It's helpful.
I like that.
But it's not helping me elevate and grow, because now I'm having to provide you with like prime example now. I have a move out date of February the 21st of 2021. And so my thing is, okay, cool. It's now September, so I have time enough, like, you know what, that I can maybe do like when most places, first month's rent, security deposit, I need to grind up a lot of money. So now I have a research on October the 7th. If I do overtime anywhere between now and October the 7th,
you gotta put that on your research.
These next 3 pays I have to turn in. They're gonna count that as my
income,
regular pay. This is not my regular pay. It clearly says overtime, but they count anything. They want
they count net.
If I get money from maybe a relative, so let's say, for example, we had this new system, Cash App. Somebody Cash App you $500 and say, because you may be behind in your bills, whatever your case may be, or somebody says, hey, you want to what? Let me do a good deed and send you money. That money hits your bank account. You also got to turn in a bank statement. They see, oh, someone credited you $500. So now that's counted in any additional money that you may receive, whether it's one time or not, it's now counted. So you mean to tell me, let's say I grind up and do overtime all this month. So my base pay may be maybe $1,200. September the 7th, which is a holiday that's coming up, that's overtime pay, right? That's holiday pay. So now your check is even greater for this one holiday. Now it's counted for the month of November, December, January. That's not your base pay. So now you're going to be held accountable for your rent will now go up. And this is what now they demanded, but that's not an everyday thing. They don't break it down like that. And I think that's unfair.
Which is called them rebudgeting you, which is crazy, because one of the contingencies of you being on the system is that you put the absentee father on child support. If he's the type of person that has an on and on income, and this income is sporadic, far here, there, in between, and you're constantly being rebudgeted for monies that you don't see, you're on a roller coaster hamster wheel all day.
Yeah, because every day is not a holiday, and every day I'm not doing overtime pay, but you're holding me accountable for that. But
Right.
on the back end of that, it's like now it's like, you know what? I still have things that I need to do, but I can't bring in extra money. Why? Because you guys are going to be holding me accountable now for anything else that I do. So anything that I do now, it's illegal and off the records.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what I do know, because I worked at a housing authority before, and usually when it's a one-time payment, they don't count one-time payments, because you can actually have a considerable amount of money. Like you can hit the lottery for like $30,000. And if it's a one-time payment, typically they can disallow that one-time payment. But I promise you,
It doesn't happen.
I'll tell you that's not true at all.
Listen, let me tell you, I worked, for most of you guys know, I was a housing commissioner for almost 10 years. I chaired a housing authority. I worked in a housing authority. I turned down maybe 2-3 housing authority vouchers, 2 Section 8 vouchers. So when I came into working with a housing authority, I had the ability to stay on. I was doing just like this little contract, temporary contract work, running their FSS department, and I could have stayed on, but then they told me I would have to start calculating rent. OMG, I took a class to calculate the rent, and I said, I will absolutely not take this job. And I was paying like $70,000 I turned down because the rent calculation was the devil. I said, it was like taking an LSAT. I didn't even go to law school simply because I didn't like the foolery in my head. I don't like when you intentionally fool around with my mind on purpose and then try to make it seem like I'm not messing with you on purpose. That was an issue for me. So when I tell you that there is on HUD's website, and I think it might be somewhere on ours, on canilive.org, they had millions of dollars owed to renters, to residents in miscalculations, and even more millions of dollars owed to the housing authorities for miscalculations. So it is cumbersome, to say the least. I just think that I know that this series will be a part of something bigger and greater, because so far, what I've heard from so far, outside of the shame that Tommy, girl, you got me. I need to go sit on somebody's comfy couch with that what you dropped on me. I need a therapist. Seriously, I'm not even lying. Like, I now need to talk to my therapist to unpack something that you are dealing with and going through, because that was so serious. And it hit me in a way that I have to work. I got to get it out. It's in me. Now I got to work it out in some way, somehow. I don't know. But it doesn't feel good that I have that information. Okay. And so I hate the fact that you have had to carry that information and that burden with you for all this time. That really sucks. And the devil is a liar. Then I heard mental health. The creation and the management and the ongoing fueling of the mental health for residents. Then I heard Ashley say, she said, a hell of a finesse. So the hustle of housing, the
It's
hustle,
really,
how they make us liars and thieves. Because in reality, that's what it is. I don't know if we get a pass because we had to lie. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how that works, but it made us liars and thieves. And I'll be honest with you, I had came to, and that's the only reason how I was able to even turn down a voucher, because I have 4 kids myself. I was on welfare too. Hello, this is the life that I live. But I remember I came to a day where I said, Lord, if you are my provider, I know you will not have me lie, cheat, and steal like this, because the system makes you lie. The system makes you steal. The system makes you hide. It was very deceptive, and I felt like I had to be 2 people. I couldn't be authentically true to who I was and who I am, but still have this handout. And so I said, Lord, if I got to lie for it, I don't want it. And you're going to have to help me. And so it was when I started to tell the truth in housing or in these programs, I started to realize that it was other stuff on the other side that they're not telling you about, like the fact that you could own your own business, like the fact that you could receive income from financial aid, student loan, $7,000, $10,000, and they never counted, and I could keep my benefits. And so when I started to tell the truth, and I realized, oh my God, I can still live here. Oh my God, I can still get these benefits, and they can't touch it. Oh, I got money over here, but it's in my business name. It's not in my name, and I'm still doing it. I grew myself out of poverty. Day by day. It took some years, but then I was able to grow myself from a place where I didn't need that subsidy anymore. And that's what they're not telling us. And so I know that eventually it will cumulate to probably a lawsuit. At the end of the day, I could definitely see a lawsuit happening. But we need help now. Like our women, you guys, we need help now.
Yeah.
And so we got to find a way to call on the people that can help us. Who can help us? The ACLU, the NAACP, like who can help us? Hey, Shakita, you just in time. We was about to wrap up because, so just recap it just real quick. We're just using this as a brainstorming session to make sure that we cover. So I gave a little bit of backdrop in the beginning on how we got here. I'm gonna show this clip before we leave to end it, but we got shame. We got, there's a shame, like we got callers on the phone they won't bring a man to their house. They're ashamed. Then we got, mental health. There's someone saying, listen, mental health is a real big deal, and every day I'm in the system, my mental health will not get cured. Then we got someone that says, I got to be a hell of a finesse. I got to, like, that shit is bondage. Excuse my language. That's bondage.
Yeah.
If you really think about it, it's bondage. Because Ashley, what you're saying is, I can't even work to get the hell out without you penalizing me right from the gate.
Yeah.
That is a problem.
And then when you,
I'll be damned. I'll be one to say, I ain't moving nowhere.
well,
like, nobody.
Raquel, let's talk about this. Let's talk about once you in that box and you can't make a dime on the books that they see. Let's talk about the things now that you need to do to make money. Let's talk about those charges you're going to catch selling them drugs. Let's talk about them STDs you're about to catch from selling your body. You understand what I'm saying? Let's talk about, come on, let's talk about why the AIDS is so rampant in public housing, the STDs. You understand? And there's nobody telling them that you can get $10,000 sitting in school for financial aid. And there's no they. It's our job.
Yeah, and I know some old folks that's selling coochie out there in them houses.
Absolutely.
So I know. Yeah, I said
absolutely.
Selling coochie.
And that's real. That's an old profession.
Yeah.
So.
And them old geezers out there getting they jammy sucked for them damn pills and that damn SSI money.
Absolutely.
It's crazy out there.
Absolutely.
Oh, I don't know. We're going to have to call her Yana Van Zandt or somebody.
Oh, I love her.
I love her too. I mean, no, seriously. We need some help. But it's too big. It's too big. So I don't think we could.
You should play the video. You should play the video, The Human Race.
But Shakita, what should we make sure we talk about in this series called HUD Housewives of America? Oh, let me. Go ahead. I don't know. If Shakita, if you don't have nothing to say, you ain't got to say nothing. But I just allowed you to talk. You good? All right.
One thing that kind of came up just now that I feel like is a touchy subject that, like, that's happening all over the world today that we see, and it ties into us, like right now with housing, just in general. It is accountability. Like you said, like, what I'm saying, the, like, for one, like, I'm one of those people. I don't know if I should. I am one of those people that are, like, doing things not the appropriate way. I'm a word like that, not the appropriate way, and so it's kind of like now it's also.
I'm here with you. Don't feel bad.
Being held accountable for my actions, but at the same time, it's like, you know what, I wouldn't have to do certain things if certain things were in place. So I don't have a problem with being forthcoming with the.
Well, you was given a proper hand. That was dope. If we can start at the starting line like the rest of everybody else, we'd be okay.
Yeah. So that's where accountability comes in at, because all these programs, these things that are available, that they may post it in, like, if they do post it, it's the small fine print, and then when you go to inquire about it or click on it, it's that information is not readily available, or either it's not understandable where you can understand it, or there's always a roadblock to maybe access. Say, hey, like, you know what, this is available to help you do X, Y, and Z, but then it's like 30 things you got to do in order to get there, or either no one makes that information known, so it's like you're running through a maze.
Well, the only way we know is when people fall on their face but had to have gone through it, like Raquel. So it is once you get this plethora of information, it is your obligation, because nobody would ever know. Who would know? Who would know that you can run a business in housing? Who would know that you can go to school without $10,000 of your financial aid being counted? Who would know? Who's telling these things?
Yep. Yeah. No one is making that information readily available. So it's like you cannot be held accountable for what you do not know. Once you know, that's the difference. It's once you know these things, and then it's for you, once you learn this information, to sit back and give back.
That's the difference. Mm-hmm.
That's true. That's true. And so what I'm going to do is, I like that. I got program accountability. So we'll run this series. We don't have to run it in 5 series. We don't have to run it where it's over in September. How about we just keep running the shit until we bring some resolve and until we grow our audience? Because we're still in the new podcast stage anyway. So we just started, like, what, a month or so ago. And so we want to build our audience, but we want to build an audience for us, by us, supported, that helps us, that will help, public housing, Section 8, moms and dads. So we'll have the series for as long as we can. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to show this clip real quick. And then, you guys will get a...
Yeah, I try not to cry.
Oh, God. Where is it? Here it is. Okay, here we go.
Line up. Everybody line up. We're about to race. Everybody line up. Shoulder to shoulder. Take off your backpack. Basketball. Line up. We're about to race. Hey, we are racing for a $100 bill. The winner of this race will take this. A $100 bill. Before I say go, I'm going to make a couple statements. If those statements apply to you, I want you to take 2 steps forward. If those statements don't apply to you, I want you to stay right where you're at. Take 2 steps forward if both of your parents are still married. Take 2 steps forward if you grew up with a father figure in the home. Take 2 steps forward if you had access to a private education.
Damn.
Take 2 steps forward if you had access to a free tutor growing up. Take 2 steps forward if you've never had to worry about your cell phone being shut off. Take 2 steps forward if you've never had to help mom or dad with the bills. Take 2 steps forward. If it wasn't because of your athletic ability, you don't have to pay for college. Take 2 steps forward if you never wondered where your next meal was going to come from. I want you guys up here in the front just to turn around and look. Every statement I've made has nothing to do with anything any of you have done. Has nothing to do with decisions you've made. Everything I have said has nothing to do with what you've done. We all know these people up here have a better opportunity to win this $100. Does that mean these people back here can't race? No. We would be foolish to not realize we've been given more opportunity. We don't want to recognize that we've been given a head start. But the reality is we have. Now, there's no excuse. They still got to run their race. You still got to run your race. But whoever wins this $100, I think it'd be extremely foolish of you not to utilize that and learn more about somebody else's story. Because the reality is, if this was a fair race and everybody was back on that line, I guarantee you some of these black dudes would smoke all of you. And it's only because you have this big of a head start that you're possibly going to win this race called life. That is a picture of life, ladies and gentlemen.
Jesus.
Nothing you've done has put you in the lead that you're in right now. When I say go, on your mark, get set.
Look, they almost finished. Look at that. That's crazy.
If you didn't learn anything from this activity, you're a fool.
That's right. And guess what? My little crybaby self, I'm crying.
I bet you are. I bet.
I'm crying.
Because it gave me chills when I first saw it. But that's reality. And that's why Will said today it was 99% and 1%.
Hey, line up!
All right. Oh, tears is in my face. I don't know if y'all saw that, but I hope Monette will put the links up for you guys to watch it. We have a couple of other links and stuff that we want you guys to just watch it, because I do believe in order to really substantiate your posture with this podcast series moving forward, you might need to equip yourself with some of the information. I mean, the real deal is, at this point, I don't know why we haven't just filed a class action lawsuit. Like, seriously, the same institution today they're doing the same thing just because they changed it. And I think in 1968, fair housing was incorporated. Yeah, fair housing was incorporated. Y'all had, like, in 1934, y'all created segregation, redlining. You blockbustering. You said that if blacks moved into a community, property values will go down. The same institution that we call HUD today. And 30 years later, they said, oh, well, like fair housing, but the practices was already embedded. The ideologies and the practices, the patterns of practices was already instituted in 3 decades. And so when you look at New York Housing Authority, Chicago Housing Authority, Philly, look at any housing authority. It's crime, it's segregated, concentrated segregation at its finest. And not only do our kids now not have how many of our kids have even died in these communities? Like, this shit is real. Like, this is not even...
We need a whole HUD.
This ain't no play shit. This is real shit.
A whole housing HUD reform.
They really do. And I think that this series will be the one.
But you know why it's not going to reform? Because HUD housing is the common day form of slavery. That's what you got to realize. and it's at its finest. Their plan is working to its finest. So at the end of the day, the only thing the recourse you would probably do is bring awareness to it and file some type of class action lawsuit, because it's systemic. It follows from generation to generation, man, woman, and child. We have not even yet to address the man. Where's the man? We have not even talked about the man yet. The man that Uncle Sam is the man in housing. Where's the black man?
Yeah, I got to write that down. Where is the black man?
What they do to them? We talking about our version of it. You have no idea. I got a whole nother version of it. The man version. I got it. Ain't supposed to have it, but I got it.
Ooh, I got a lot to say about that. Ooh.
Hey Tommy, hey Misha, hey Shalevia. Hey guys, we're pretty much at the end. I don't know if y'all want to add anything else, but we really was just addressing what we should be covering over the next however long this is going to take, because I am committed to just unpacking it. And so I think our first episode we might deal with that shame. That shame was like real talk, and like, are you ashamed where you live? You know, and let's talk about that shame for a minute and just unpack it. I think there's so many things that we could unpack. She just said, where's the black man? We know Uncle Sam is here, but where is the black man? And I think that's a whole episode by itself, because I know for sure there was something that prohibited black men from moving into public housing back in the day. I have to find that, but I know that that's a real thing. But where's the black man?
Right. So what's their story? They can't be around us. They're the ones we're having kids with. We desperately need their income. You got to put them on the application as an absentee parent. They got to go in the system on child support.
They are under the grid. A lot of these black men are not even visible. They're invisible. Ooh, it should be called the invisible black man.
The invisible black man. And that's what it was. They made them invisible so we can rely on him and only him. And that is Uncle Sam.
That's a series. I don't know where to start. Y'all gonna have to help us out, because there's a lot to unpack. I need my therapist.
Probably started from 1935.
Yeah, black men are
coming
later.
Started from the beginning.
The eradication of the black man.
Well, I got to find that.
Well, should we start off with the black man first, if it's about HUD housewives?
Yeah, I think that might not be a bad idea. If you're talking HUD housewives, the case of the invisible black man, where are they?
Right. Well,
why are they not here in public housing? Yeah.
Exactly.
I like that. We can do that.
That sounds crazy.
That sounds very crazy. And I hope everybody on this call has a therapist, and I'm not even kidding. Get a therapist.
My therapist moved away.
Huh?
My therapist moved away. I need a new one.
Well, you might need a new one. Get one, honey, boo-boo. I think I'm going to get a therapist to join us on the call.
Absolutely.
I need one, because I need to talk to a therapist right now. And I'm about to. I am, because that was a lot. That was definitely heavy and deep. So next Tuesday, you guys, 9:00, I'll be in my regular location. My technical difficulties, Facebook been looking at a blank screen for like a whole hour. I don't even know what happened. But it's a podcast, and we just happen to add a visual element to it. But nonetheless, I really do thank you guys for adding, contributing. There's no way I would have dug that out. That's really why I was like, I don't really know where this is going to go. And it's because it's locked in y'all. Y'all have the my family just came in. Y'all have a lot of this insight. We looking for another therapist. I got a name. I'm gonna put her stuff out there. I'm gonna actually call her, see if she could. I need somebody. Misha she said I'm looking for another one. If y'all got, good therapists is hard to come by for sure. Hey, Shalevia, Misha, everybody, Shakita, all of you guys, Ashley, Tommy, Monette, India, all you guys that decided to come on and start the conversation. Let's do that. Let's start this conversation. Let's grow this thing like fire, because If this is not important in this time right now, then I don't know what is. If this ain't the root cause of what we seeing in this community right now, I don't know what is. And so next Tuesday, 7 p.m., we're going to put out the Invisible Black Man. Where is he on the Hood Housewives of America? And I guess maybe we can, if y'all know some black men that's like under the radar, we got the detections. They can like have their voices sound like the, pedophiles of America. They could make, we could scan their voices like, and then black out their faces.
And if you with the Housewives concept, you will always do the intro in the first podcast about them. But just like the reality shows, their husbands are invisible.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. I knew that. That's what Shaleria was like. It's not that they didn't allow black men to be there, but they had to be married. And so what I'm looking for is the policies, because back then that wasn't really an issue for white women. And they were white families that lived in public housing. Pruitt-Igoe is the perfect, one was black, one was white. But we weren't married even then. We weren't married to that degree. But I seen documentaries where the men said I had to let my family go there because it was their housing.
Because if they get married, then the man's income is counted, and more than likely they don't qualify. So
but I mean, come on, just get married. What's up with that? So maybe that's a part of the invisible black man.
Because then you have to divorce your first husband to marry the second one. You can't get married when you married already.
So you say you had to divorce the black man because you was already married to Uncle Sam?
Absolutely. Once you sign that application and you get your case number, you have a husband. His name is Uncle Sam. It's not your husband. He can't. If your husband can't match what Uncle Sam is doing for you, then that is not your husband. Uncle
Girl,
Sam.
good night, and that's it.
Right. All right.
Yeah, you're gonna stop it, and we're gonna stop it right now. We're gonna end it on that note, but we can open it with that on Tuesday, next Tuesday, just like that. I love that. Like if your man, your real man, and I think that feeds into what you were saying, Tommy, with the shame. If your real man can't even come to the table. Like in Tommy's case, Tommy ain't even going to accept a man that can't come to the table more than what Uncle Sam is already paying. So interesting. All right, y'all. Y'all got to go. We got to go. See you guys. Wait, what she said? Yes, sis, they have switched the names and let out about marriage and even SS number. True story. I know. So let's talk about they had to switch names and lie about being married and even their social security numbers. That's crazy. I need that kind of, where can we find that? If we could, can y'all start searching like where would that information be?
What was it?
She was, Celebia from New York, she's like, they used to even have to switch their names and lied about if they were married, they would have to lie and say they weren't. Then they would have to change their names. And some people went as far as changing their social security numbers just to get access to the housing. And she said her grandmother lived there in 1950. And I asked Shalevi, I don't know how many generations in are you? Are you third generation in? Like grandma, did your mom live there? We probably need to address that as well. The generations. I mean, I got family that live in public housing. I got a lot of family living in public housing.
Wow.
But we never lived there. We moved out to the suburbs, but that was in the 80s. All of this damage was already done 50 years prior. Third generation. So Celebria said her grandmother, her mother, and her. And she has a little girl. And I know she's a small business owner. And she hella smart. And I know she ain't trying to leave that to her daughter. I know that for a fact. And I don't think that that's the intention to leave your housing and your voucher to your children. I don't think that's the intention, but I do think that we in the struggle, in the fight, you wind up dying in it. And then you don't want your whole, your children to be homeless now.
Oof.
That's crazy. That's really crazy. Yeah, listen, we about to have a little reality show or something.
Ooh, baby.
Like for real. So, okay, let me go. We're past our time. It's 8:18. We'll come back next Tuesday. Monetta get in contact with all y'all. We talking about the invisible black man. The Housewives of America. Where is the black man? Where is he? And we'll talk about that next Tuesday, 7 p.m. See you guys. Good night. Love you guys.
Night, night. Thank you.
Good night. No sublets. Session is key, however. I know that's right, Shalene.